So when we watch the best players in the world set up to the ball, their golf swings look so simple. And they create lots of power, great strike, lots of influence on where the golf ball goes. And it's just the consistency level that really sets them apart. And like I said, once they get over the golf ball, everything looks great. And even when I'm hitting those first few away, it just feels so simple. And yet, if you're watching this video, you're probably one of those golfers who feels like they set up well to the ball, but when they make the swing, you feel there's lots of moving parts, you feel there's no real power, it's tough to strike the ball. Well, I'm going to show you in today's video, with the aid of Swing Catalyst, how you're going to use the ground, like the best players in the world, to produce control, power, strike, to really take your game to the next level. Okay, so you might not be in a position to go on something like this, but because I've got a piece of kit like this, I can tell how golfers move into the floor and ultimately why they get the golf swing moving how they do. And what you see with all the best players in the world is that at address, they're fairly 50-50, maybe a little bit more pressure on that lead foot. But as they move away with the club, they push into that lead foot to get the club moving. And then very, very early on, that right foot resists, because if it didn't, you'd get dragged away from the golf ball. So anyone who sways from the ball, there's no pressure in that foot. And then as the club changes direction, that's the shift across. And as all the weight piles into that left side, the left foot then resists into the ground. And again, if you didn't, that's that slide into the ball. So someone very kindly commented the other week that I sway and slide in my golf swing. Well, if you are watching, good news is I've got some data coming just to show you why I don't do those things. But the move that we're going to get you guys working on is I want you to take the club, cross it across your chest, start in your address position, and as you swing, as you turn your body back, I want you to feel like you push your right foot down into the ground nice and hard. So that pressure's in that right foot. Then from there, we're going to move from right to left. So you're going to push towards the target. And as the weight moves across, you're going to push your left foot down into the ground. So we'll see, as I push the right foot into the ground, that right hip turns behind me. Then I get some lateral movement. Then as I push the left foot into the ground, left leg straightens and left hip gets out of the way. So how many of you are watching are going, I can't turn my hips properly in the golf swing? This is absolutely going to fix you. So we're going to practice that little swing. So we're going to go back, push that right foot hard into the ground, move towards the target, push the left foot into the ground. So I'm going to hit a shot to start with where I don't really exaggerate it. I'm going to show you on TrackMan how the club gets delivered. Then I'm going to exaggerate the feeling, and then I'm going to show you how that's worked. So the first one is what I would tend to see a lot of club golfers do. No real resistance. Little thinny one. So we can see low point behind the ball. Club's travelled up very, very slightly, hence picking it. It's launched at a nice angle because it's off the bottom of the club. Club speed was decent at 83 mile an hour and ball speed at 110. But even though that ended up okay, it really didn't feel like a good shot. So I'm going to rehearse that feeling. Push down into the right foot, shift, push into the left foot. Now I'm going to incorporate that into the golf swing. Maybe not full speed to begin with, but just try and exaggerate those feelings. That just felt like a completely different golf shot. So even though I didn't feel like I was trying to be quick there, 87 mile an hour, ball speed at 123.5, low point suddenly ahead of the golf ball, clubs travelled down 3.2 degrees, launched at 16, carried at 175. Now I've got a dilemma. That was incredibly good. And that was definitely, even though I felt slow with what I was doing, because I'm really interacting with the ground there, that energy is coming up through my body and into the club. So now I'm going to try and go a little bit more normal speed with that level of exaggeration. and let's see what that gives me. Again, felt good, just not quite shaping back, but suddenly 89 mile an hour club head speed. Wasn't quite as good a strike, but 123.5, low point 2.7 ahead, again 3 degrees down, 15.5 and 172. So you can see a massive pickup in club head speed, but most importantly, instead of being like this at impact, as I press into the right leg, that's fine, I shift across, and as that leg straightens, that's where I am. So that club can release afterwards, really stored all that energy. So let's go one more of those and then we'll have a look at swing catalyst. Just turning over a little bit. Again, nearly 90 mile an hour, 125 ball speed. Again, low point and attack angle really good. And that 7-iron getting out at 181. So definitely picking some speed up, and I'm in desperate need of that. But let's have a look on Swing Catalyst and see exactly why that's worked. Okay, so we can see at address there, I've got 66% pressure on my front foot, only 34 on the back foot. And this arrow is going to show which way I'm pushing. So as I start away, we see the arrow points back because that's my left foot pushing into the ground. But very quickly, we see the arrow change direction. So my right foot pushing into the ground, turning that hip back behind me. Then when we get to the top, we'll see the arrow tilt more forward. There's my weight shift, but very, very quickly, my left foot starting to push into the ground now. The arrow points back, and then the energy whips through my body, through my arms, into the club. And even though it wasn't the best looking golf swing, certainly worked well. So when you can start building that resistance into the floor, as you push against the ground doesn't go anywhere. So that energy you're putting into the ground comes back up through your body. And like I said, this is definitely something for me that I need to keep working on. Swing Catalyst has definitely shown that I'm not as good as I need to be with that. So when I do that drill, I can get here, really feel that right foot's pushing down, shift and push. And that feels much more exaggerated than I do in my golf swing. So let's really try and exaggerate one and see if we can get that club head speed over 90 mile an hour. There's 90.4, it was a tiny bit thin, so my ball speed dropped off. Launch angle was a bit low, but still 170 yards. And like I said, that just feels so effortless, but powerful. And it feels that my body's turning really nicely. I can definitely feel the difference pushing into the ground. And like I said, all the best players in the world are doing this. So if you can work on that drill, you can start hitting some of the best shots you've ever hit before.